Hi, I'm Randy Hollenbeck, and this is the Music Roundtable. Today on the show, we have Drew from alternative rock band Vaz.
Thanks for having me on, Randy. Appreciate it.
First off, I wanted to get into some of your background in music. What got you into playing guitar, and what age did you start playing?
I started playing guitar when I was 15, and what got me starting playing guitar was one specific moment where I was on vacation, a family vacation, and I'm not sure if you know this actually, but the other guitarist in our band is my cousin. So he was on that vacation. He's a couple years older than me, and his dad plays guitar. So he was kind of dabbling in it a little bit, and his dad had played guitar over a campfire for the family, and it was cool and everything. But then JT, the other guitarist, my cousin, took his dad's acoustic, pulled me aside, and played the opening chords to "Smells Like Teen Spirit." And he was not very good at it, but he played it with like so much volume and intensity with his strumming that I didn't experience when his dad was playing. You know, his dad's super technical and soft and everything. So I had never in my life seen someone play like an acoustic guitar so just violently like that. And immediately I was like, that's what I want to do. So I got a guitar like a month later and didn't look back.
Can you tell me some of your musical influences as far as like guitars or bands?
Absolutely. I have so many influences and I'm influenced in so many different ways. So I guess I can maybe just give a couple examples of I guess different influences. One that comes to my head right now for some reason is a band called Dillinger Escape Plan, and their influence is a good example because they sound nothing like us, and I don't do anything to replicate their sound, and I don't take their songs as influence for songwriting. But I happened to see them live when I was 16 years old, and the way they put on a live performance kind of blew my mind. And that's definitely an influence at the time, influenced me in my just the ways I go about playing live shows and things like that. And then on the other end of the spectrum, I'll throw one out there. Thurston Moore, the guitarist from Sonic Youth, is I guess more of a formal influence in the way you'd think about it, where you could look at my guitar playing and his guitar playing and go, oh yeah, you know, I see the consistency in these areas. You know, he'll do stuff where he'll ring out one string and then do a bunch of crazy stuff on other strings, and I love doing things like that. So you know, I guess those are some examples of other sides of the spectrum. And then maybe without talking your head off, throwing a few more out there. I'm really influenced by Nirvana. I think that's pretty obvious. I'm influenced by a lot of the hometown heroes, Michigan guys, Stooges, MC5, you know, Ron Ashton, Wayne Kramer, Fred Sonic Smith, those guys. So yeah, I could go on about my influences, but I think that's good enough.
How did the band form?
The band form is a good question. It depends on what your opinion is on what forms a band. So maybe I can kind of see what your opinion is on it. But the band formed in late 2018 with JT and myself wanting to start the band. So if if you want to call the formation of a band, however many people verbally committing to forming that band, that might have been in the summer of 2015. But I say the formation of the band was when I took a semester of community college. before I went to Michigan State, where I'm a senior right now. And in one of my classes, I saw a kid who had long hair and a Jimi Hendrix T-shirt on, and I went up to him because JT and I were looking for bandmates, and I was just thinking in my head that this is a pretty good shot. This guy plays an instrument, I'll see. Turns out he played bass, and he had a friend who plays drums, and they happened to be our first bassist and drummer. And we kind of just got with them and said, "You want to start a band, start playing live?" And we're not with those guys anymore. We're on good terms with them, very friendly, but that's just kind of how it started.
And how did you find your singer?
We um we found Christian online because he had been in a band prior to us called Avidia, and they had since broken up. So we had seen videos of him singing, and we didn't know of him while Avidia was still active. But after they broke up, we kind of saw some of his videos and went, "Yeah, we want this guy to sing for us, or we at least want to start that relationship, see where it goes." And it was kind of funny when we first met him. We kind of took him to a show that was like similar to this, like kind of like a podcast questionnaire type thing. And it was kind of like Christian's perspective was, yeah, you guys are cool. I'll see where this takes me. If you want to play a show, I'll play a show with you guys, but I can't like commit to anything. We'll see how it goes. Take it like one show at a time. And basically, he played that first show with us, and then he's been a formal member ever since. He just never it never got to that point where he's like dipping down low or anything. Like he just stayed with it ever since.
How did you come up with the band name?
That's another good question. I'll attribute that to JT with a short answer, but the long answer is that our approach to the band name was kind of from a place of I remember when we were thinking about it, first of all we liked one word band names, and we also liked one syllable band names. So like, something that really like just hits you right away, like one word, like Nirvana or Pavement, like just like something like that. But also when we were coming up with it, we wanted a nice logo approach, like ACDC, Metallica, like their logos are ingrained with their name. So we kind of took influence from the show MASH and said, okay, that's a pretty cool template for four letters and the asterisks in between. What's a four-letter word that looks cool and sounds cool? And then JT came up with vase, pronounced vase, and it looks cool with the V, the A, kind of like lining up, and then the word is just like a vase, and then I don't know. We liked it at the time, and we went with it, and we haven't changed it. So
What city is your band based out of?
we're based out of Brighton, Michigan, which is kind of a hub where we're within an hour of Detroit, Ann Arbor, Flint, Lansing. Um, Grand Rapids is about an hour and a half, um, but that's where we're based out of. Yeah.
When the pandemic hit and live music shut down, what did you do during that time?
Well, I think everyone at the time was a combination of little fearful, a little unsure, as we all were. So I think we were really open with the fact that some of us needed to do what was best for us at the time. So a couple of us took a step back for just a short period of time, and we kind of continued. For those who were comfortable meeting with each other, met in person to do some informal practices just to so we don't all not see each other for months on end. And we kind of focused, I think, on like a lot of people do, on some of those non-traditional elements that make up a band, which are social media, things that go on behind the scenes, some of those processes you need to go through that aren't don't have to do with meeting people and like living your daily life really. So yeah, a couple of us took a step back, informal practices, focused on other things, and then thankfully we were able to be slowly integrated over a longer period of time to where like by March of 2021, we were able to get in the studio, record some stuff, and between the year that the country shut down and then the year that we're getting back into the studio, it was a slow enough integration to where by the time 2021 came around, we were all ready.
Now, when the lockdown lifted and live music returned, did you notice, like, in the audience, they were, like, more engaged and there was more energy from the crowd when you played out?
I would say no, but not for the reason maybe the question calls for, because I think, I guess, okay, yes and no, because it depends more on where you play compared to whether you played before or after the pandemic. You know what I mean? If I was like, if the band was consistent for years prior the pandemic, like playing a certain type of show, let's just say a college show, if we had played a good handful of those before and after, I feel like I'd be able to give you an answer. But we only played like one college show before and a couple after, and we didn't really play too many like, oh, like we didn't play anything like the Machine Shop, or like a show where we got the chance to open for Local H this past year in Texas. So we didn't play like a national show like that before the pandemic. So there wasn't, I don't have enough variables or enough shows to really accurately answer, but I will say the energy was there before and after, so I don't think there was too much of a difference that I noticed.
What makes up your sound? Like, do you have, like, different tunings you use on your guitar, effects, amps, guitar, your regular guitar? Or what do you bring to the band as far as that?
Okay, so great question. So off the bat, alternative tunings, we haven't messed with too much, and I think we'd like to in the future, because some of our favorite bands do that. A great example is Soundgarden. We look up to those guys a lot, and Kim Thale, Chris Cornell love to tune their instruments really weirdly. But I think another reason we don't tune our instruments down is we don't have the money to have like a bunch of instruments like lined up. Like if you want to have, we're always going to have our songs that are in standard tuning. So if we start writing songs a half step down, now I need a guitar that's on stage ready to go half step down. And I need a guitar that backs that one up in case my string breaks, you know, so I don't have enough money for four Fender guitars, but I have enough for two. So I think that's one of the reason. Um, to answer the next part of your question, for anyone who would be watching who's a gearhead, some of the equipment we have, I have a Fender Jaguar Kurt Cobain signature, which has two DiMarzio humbucking pickups in it, and I usually, if I'm using a pedal, it's either going to be a Crybaby wah or it's going to be a tube screamer. I don't really use fuzz effects too much. I used to like years ago, not anymore. Maybe some reverb and some delay if I'm soloing. That's about it. And I go into a Marshall TSL 2000 triple super lead, um, and then I have like a PV cab. And then the other guitarist, he has a Reverend Ron Ashton Flying V signature, which has P90 pickups in it. He goes through a Fender like Rock 1000 head, which is pretty cheap, but it sounds good. He's upgrading right now. A B52 cab. Both our heads are 100 watts. Cabs 4x12. He'll use a big muff every once in a while. He's got a tube screamer as well. Our bassist, he has a Fender amp as well. I don't know the exact model, but I think it's like it gets pretty loud. So I don't want to not accurately say what he has. He uses a Fender P bass most of the time. Doesn't really have, he has a pedal, but it's not like, it's more like a EQ pedal. You can really just like tone it in. There's no like distortion really. So that's all the gear. But to get to the main part of the question, which would be just like how would I describe our sound? How do we get our sound? Where does that come from? I would say it's mostly hard rock, a lot of punk inspiration. We like to make noise during our set, but we also like our songs to sound like they do in the studio live. So if it's like we like to stay true to the studio. We like to have melodies in our songs. We like to have parts that people can go away and remember. We like to have traditionally sung parts in the song, like not as much like screaming, more like traditional melodies. So I think with the combination of like that hard rock punk style with traditional singing and with the way Christian's voice sounds, a lot of people call us grunge, which I'm okay with. It's not what we went for, you know what I mean? But if people want to call us grunge, that's cool. But yeah, we like to be raunchy, we like to be loud, but we also like it to be like a controlled chaos, if that makes sense.
I'd like to ask you about your song "Johnny B. Joan." Um, how do you get together and write a song like that? Do you and JT form the song and then bring it to the band, or how does that work?
So every single song, if you were to come see us play our live set, and we have like about 10 original songs right now, each one of those songs is going to have a different story for how it's written. So I'd be more than happy to tell you about Johnny B. Jones specifically. You want that? Okay, yeah. So Johnny B. Joan was the skeleton was sent over to me by JT. He had come up with the skeleton. He had, just come up with like the chord change and the vocal melody and some of the lyrics. And, I was like, okay, like I didn't love it at first, I'll be honest, but it's turned out to be a fan favorite. And that song, I excuse me, it was kind of that one's kind of unique because I actually kind of wrote a lot of the drum parts for that song. Certain parts where the hi hat will open or close, or just certain innuendos on the drums because that's just a straight 4/4 punk song. So there's not too much like creativity on that. So the innuendos on the drums on that song can actually be attributed to me, and JT can be attributed to the lyrics, the vocal melody, the skeleton. um, I remember when we first played that song live, we played it to a guy in a crowd where he kind of had this independent record label thing going on. We might have wanted to work with him, but he was like, "That song Johnny B. Joan, I love it, but I need another bite of the burger," is what he said. It needs to be a little longer. So at the time, the song didn't have a bridge. There's that whole build up section, and then it goes into that big chorus finish. That bridge didn't exist, and it existed because someone told us the song needed to be longer, and I go, okay, he's right. The song doesn't have a bridge. It's just verses and choruses. What can I do for a bridge? And I just took every note that is played in the guitar lead during the hook, the I found all those notes on the neck, and then I just went from lowest pitch to highest pitch, and that's what became the bridge. So that's kind of how the song was written, in Johnny B. Jones' case. Like I said, each song is very different, but yeah, lots to talk about on that one. And then that song actually too had some really fantastic studio magic that we experienced for the first time, where some of those like guitar hits you maybe will hear, but you might not hear if I don't point them out to you. That really like just bring together the song were created in the studio on the spot during the pre-chorus where the vocals are Johnny come home. Johnny was a There's a guitar lead where it's like da-na, da-na, na, 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 etc. That was come up on I came up with that in the spot in the studio, partially me and partially the engineer we were working with at the time, Shane Grush, who we're gonna be working on some more stuff with. So yeah, that song is so many elements came were thought up in lots of different fashions for that song. So a lot of things had to come together for that one.
What do you guys got planned for 2022?
Well, we are. It's a good segue because I just mentioned Shane Grush. We're gonna be doing some work with him again. We really like the way our songs that we recorded last year sound. So we're gonna be going back and doing some work with him. Hopefully, we're going to be doing a couple songs with him. We'll see how it goes, but definitely expect something. So, a couple new songs at the least are what we're hoping for, and hoping to play some shows out of the state a little bit, hoping to hit the road just a bit, whatever that means, whatever that could mean for us. We're hoping to get some of that accomplished in the summer, in the fall. We know we have some people who don't have the chance to see us live because they just aren't from Michigan, or they're not from Ohio or Indiana, or any of the surrounding states. So we're trying to find a way to get out there. So I'd say those are the two biggest things. Expect some new music. Not sure exactly how much. I can't be too ambitious because it's kind of expensive to record music. But and then expect us to hit the road.
How can we get a hold of you guys? Facebook, Instagram, Twitter?
You can get a hold of us on any three of those. I would say, from experience, Instagram would probably be the quickest way to get to us. The best way, if you were to bet, which message we'd see first, I'd probably say we'd see the Instagram message first. You could also send us an email. But yeah, simply an Instagram DM, and we'll see that.
That's all the questions I have. Thanks for coming on the show. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, I appreciate everyone for watching. I like your questions, very great questions. I hope if someone cared to click on this for to see that Vaz was being interviewed, or me, or whatever, that hopefully you learned some cool things. But yeah, that's I don't have anything else to add, Randy. I appreciate you having me on here.